Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. You're listening to a new The Hacker Factory podcast with hacker maker Phillip Wylie. You're about to discover what the role of a professional hacker entails, the different specializations it holds, and what it takes to learn and become one. Enjoy the conversation as Phillip and guests unveil the secrets of professional hacking, a mysterious, intriguing, and often misunderstood occupation. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
BugCrowd's award-winning platform combines actionable contextual intelligence with the skill and experience of the world's most elite hackers to help leading organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities, protect customers, and make the digitally connected world a safer place. Learn more at bugcrowd.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hacker Factory podcast. I'm your host, Phillip Wylie, the Hacker Maker. In each episode, I have a really great guest sharing their story of how they got into offensive cybersecurity and their tips and tricks on getting into the industry. This episode, I'm very happy to present BSD Bandit, also known by his real name, Charles Shirer. One of the things, if you're on social media, information, Twitter, InfoSec Twitter, you got to know who Charles is. And Charles was kind of a ray of sunshine during the pandemic whenever the lockdown occurred and everyone was cooped up at home by herself. And, you know, I really got to appreciate Charles' videos even better because it's just kind of something to cheer you up and kind of get you happy and going. And so I'm very happy to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm definitely excited. So I got my Guile shirt on today. I'm feeling like the Street Fighter. I'm probably gonna play that game later tonight.
Oh, cool. It's good. You got your shirt on, your Guile shirt, and then it's Friday. So I mean, What more can we ask for? And so how's your 2022 going so far?
2022 has been interesting. It's been an adventure, but I just take it one day at a time and just try to enjoy just the moments. And then I don't focus on tomorrow. I don't focus on yesterday. I just focus on the moment. And that helps out a lot because, my goodness, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Yeah, that's great advice because, man, 2020 and 2021.
This decade.
Yeah, it kind of hurt. Yeah, it kind of ruined us all, I guess, man, because it's just getting used to, you don't know what to expect. And you think that it's going to get better. And then sometimes it doesn't. It's like a meme I saw on Twitter recently. Mm-hmm. It showed 2022, you know, it said something about hopefully 2022 will be better. And then you see the sun in the background and you see the silhouette of Godzilla. And said, is that Godzilla?
But it's true. It's got us all wanting to break out the Dunlore and head back to wherever we want to go to, whether it's the 90s or the 80s or even the early 2000s. Anything but this decade.
Yeah. So yeah, well, before I forget about it, why don't you introduce yourself for our listeners?
Okay. My name is Charles Shirer. I go by the BSD Bandit on Twitter. I do penetration testing and red teaming. I love retro games. I'm just really just all about just like enjoying life and just having fun. And the retro kind of brings me back to that, from T-shirts to toys to even video games. And I'm a husband and a father of one. I got a 4-year-old daughter, Simone. Hi, Simone, even though she's not going to be
very cool. Yeah, she might hear this someday. So that's
someday, good. Exactly. The internet is written in ink.
So you always appear, you know, you have the appearance of being positive and upbeat on Twitter. Is this kind of hard to maintain, or, you know, how do you do that?
No, it's not hard to maintain because it's me. It's my personality. That's just always how I've been. I just try to look at always just try to keep the positive outlook. I mean, of course, the world's always going to have problems. We all have problems. There's up and down days, but what keeps me going is just know, like, hey, this little problem or this little issue is not going to be like the end all be all. So push through it, do whatever I got to do to get through it. But I know the ladder is more positive. So I just keep I just keep that mindset. I've always kept that mindset, like just enjoying it. And, when it's you, it's authentic, it's organic, like even like with the morning videos, yeah, I could just record a whole bunch of them in a row and just put them out there, but that's not organic. That's more robotic and, automated. So every time someone sees the morning video, that's actually me up that morning in that moment. And of course I play a song at the end, whatever, depends on what I've heard the night before or a song that was on my mind. Cause we're constantly going while we're sleeping. So if a song pops up in my mind, I play it on the morning video. And for all those want to know, I haven't had the coffee yet. The coffee's brewing in the background. I like to put that out there. Because he's like, dude, did you have the coffee already? I'm like, no, I didn't have the coffee. I'm just up.
Yeah, as you mentioned that you don't pre-record those, so it's more organic. I think it's more authentic too, because sometimes so much things in life are scripted. So I think it's good to be authentic, like you are.
Yeah, why are we scripting it? Let's go with the authentic, because we're all human. We all go through the same things, just probably at different times in life or different times of the day. But at the end of the day, we all have the same 24 hours. So just how do you want to enjoy? Do you want to enjoy those 24 hours, or do you want to just kind of like stay in one spot where you're upset or miserable within those 24 hours? At the end of the day, we all have choices.
Good point. So since the pandemic, have you seen more attention to your morning videos? Have you seen more attention?
Oh yeah. I get a lot of like DMs, and I answer, and of course somebody follows me, I'll follow them back. And if they want to chat, I'll talk as well too. I have a passion for people. So I generally care about people in general, so if somebody wants to chat, I'll talk to them in the DM all day if they want to. So I enjoy it. I enjoy being around folks. And of course, I'm not going to let the pandemic stop me, because again, I keep the hacker mindset. I don't accept things the way they are. I adjust things and modify them to what I want them to be, regardless of what the rule book says.
Yeah, that's a great motto to live by. The cool thing is too, is like you said, people DM you, but one of the things that I think is good about people like yourself is, there's sometimes people are out there interested in cybersecurity and they help, but don't you find a lot of times people just need the encouragement or they need some advice from someone, and it may not even be related to cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm. It's just I look at it this way. Think about it. And even if it's not cybersecurity or anything, everything that you do in this world starts with a mindset, right? It all starts with the mindset, like say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm willing to go through whatever I need to go through to get to that point. But it all starts with the mindset. When I wanted to get into hacking, and this is before it was even called cybersecurity or anything, I just was a guy that enjoyed computers, like from video games to PC gaming, and then to the point where I just wanted to deal with computers. And then I met a bunch of folks that were into hacking, and that's how I kind of adopted the mindset. So it's all about whatever it is that you want to do. I don't care if it's art. I don't care if it's skateboarding. Whatever it is that you want to do, it all starts with that one mindset. I can do this. I will do this. And I'm going to figure out a way how to get to that point.
That's great. And you kind of mentioned getting started. Why don't we dig a little deeper in that? Why don't you share how you kind of got started and eventually became a pen tester and red teamer?
Okay. Well, I started out in college. I started off as, of course, a PC tech. Well, even before that, I learned how to make cables and started making cables for the network admins and carry boxes for the network admins. And then, of course, from there, became like a PC tech. And then I became a system administrator. But the fun part about the system, and this was all at my college, I went to Virginia State University, class of 2003. But at that time, I was interested in just like Unix. That's what I used in college. I used mostly like Linux and Unix. This is where the free BSD, everything comes in. So I started out using like Mandrake Linux, Slackware, Red Hat. I was trying all types of different Nix systems. And then a good friend of mine was like, dude, since you like Slackware so much, you need to check out the BSDs. And I'm like, the BSDs? It's like, he said, go ahead, just check it out, and you'll be surprised what you want to do, right? So I actually got a copy of FreeBSD 4.8. I tell it 4.8, and this was over dial-up. I didn't have no DSL. I wasn't on campus at the time, so it was a dial-up. So I went ahead and installed it, burned it to a CD, the ISO to a CD, installed it. I had a Sony Vaio with 128 megs of RAM and a 10 gig hard drive. So I got it to install on that, and I didn't know much about it. I was like, well, okay, let me make sure I install X Windows, just the basics. And then once I got into it, I was like, oh, I really like this. It supports different hardware. I said, okay, I know about FreeBSD. Oh, over here is OpenBSD. Let me try this. And then I learned that, oh, a lot of people are using this for a firewall. I said, oh, okay, let me try this. And I actually got a hold of a 486 with the turbo button. And I made that was my first firewall with OpenBSD 3.0. That was the first time PF ever existed. That was in that first version. So 3.0. And I was like, oh, you could do this with the firewall. And I slowly started building my open source knowledge without knowing it, because it was something that I was truly passionate about. I was truly into. And of course, I spent a lot of time at IRC and and just hung out there a lot. And I learned a lot that way as well, too. And now I took that skill set, brought it back to my job, which was system administration. So I started building FreeBSD, like FTP servers, web servers in FreeBSD. And then eventually I went from being a Novell administrator. Novell, yes. So yes, I was Novell. I'm CNA NetWare 5, people. Yes. So so with Novell, a funny story about Novell NetWare. The person that was working with me at the college, his wife was in the military, so they had to leave Virginia, and there was no like email administrator because we used GroupWise. So my boss came in, he had a Novell book in one hand, he had a GroupWise book in another hand. He put them both on my desk and said, "You're the new email administrator. Don't screw up." So that's how I got into like Novell and everything else. And come to find out, we upgraded to 6.5. That ran Bash, Open Enterprise Server. So I'm like, oh, this is nothing but Nix, which is something that I was already playing around with while I was in college. So that's where that connection comes in. And then like I said, with the BSDs, I just always had a special love for that operating system and just that whole vibe, because it was a true operating system, tried and true, and like different hardware and everything else. And then of course that kind of bled into me learning a little bit of Cisco. So I kind of just learned a little bit of each things, but I always stuck with like the Nix part of the side of the house. Now I got into penetration testing. Fast forward, I got into penetration testing 8 years ago. I started out with 2014, right? So I started out with wireless. I had a huge interest to wireless. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Just learning the basics. I was buying up every antenna I could find. And it's funny, I was on YouTube one day and I watched this penetration testing. It was like wireless penetration testing for reals. It was a talk by Zero Chaos. Shout to Zero Chaos. So I said, oh, this is pretty interesting. And I mean, I learned about the different antennas and everything else, and the different like Zigbees, Bluetooth, and things that they were testing with at the time. And I actually started looking up stuff and actually buying stuff off of eBay or wherever I could find it. And then just started putting together my own little wireless attack network. From there, like I found out about the offensive security OSWP. So I said, I'm going to take that because I'm already into wireless. I'm knee deep into it. I'm buying all the equipment. I'm playing around with this stuff. And the only reason I took the certification was just to like learn. It was just more knowledge. I didn't really look at it from a cert perspective, like saying I have to have that cert. But I looked at it from a perspective like, oh, I can actually learn something more about wireless and networking and pen testing, right? So that was the main reason I took that cert. And then from there, wireless kind of bled into NetPen and web app pen, right? So that's where the connection with the OSCP, and I know I'm jumping into certs, like I'm jumping into that side of the house, but that was kind of my roadmap to penetration testing in general. It was just an idea. I said, okay, I did the hacking thing in college and learning different things and learning from other folks and being interested in Unix and everything else and doing hacks with that, learning, like I said, awk and Perl at the time was the hotness, and then eventually move over to Python. But it's always been in me from a mindset to say, oh, you know what? I like this. Let me learn as much as I can about it and then make it do things that it wasn't really designed to do. So, and that's, again, it all starts from the mentality. It's all a mental thing with hacking and anything that you do, right? So back to what I was saying with like certification, I wound up getting the OSCP, and that was a changer for me because it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's like you learn different things at one time. So you're learning a combination of like NetPen, web app, and you're learning buffer overflows at the time, right? And so I think that certification is like a foundation. It gives you a foundation of which roadmap you might want to go into, because from there you kind of figure out, okay, now they have different like specialties that you might want to specialize in. You know, it might be wireless, it might be web, it might be just like exploit development. So I think that, you know, that kind of helped shape my mindset as far as like security is concerned. And I mean, I've been in it ever since. And I don't plan on slowing down. Like I like this. it's just pretty cool. And not even just the hacking, just understanding like security. And I'm getting to meet some awesome folks, yourself included. It's great. Like I don't know how else to describe that one, but it's a great feeling. So that's also part of my happiness as well too, because I get to wake up each morning and do what I love for a living. It doesn't get any sweeter, you know? So that was my path towards like hacking and of course penetration testing now, you know? That was the path that I took. So I started off just learning the basics of operating systems. How does it work? How does the file system work? How does log file, where do log files go? Because all that plays a part. And, you know, when you're attacking a system, you need to know where the logs live. You need to know where the password file lives. You need to understand how the operating system works, because that gives you a better chance of being successful when you're pen testing a network. And you can use that operating system, of course, to pivot and go somewhere else within the network. Depends on what type of test that you're actually doing. And same thing with the web app. So that was pretty much my path into it, and okay. I haven't stopped ever since.
So what would you recommend for someone that's wanting to get into the pen testing field?
Okay, we're gonna update it to today, right? Okay. If I was starting out today, the first thing I would do, I'd hop on because we all have mobile phones. I would hop on to a place like Spaces. I would Google, okay, what positions are in cybersecurity? What is cybersecurity all about? What fields are within cybersecurity? Once I've kind of looked at what's there, because again, I haven't made a decision yet what I want to do, then that's when I would get on Twitter or start joining up with some Discords and just start asking around like, hey, this looks interesting. Tell me more about it. What does a threat hunter do? What does a penetration tester do? And within penetration testing, what does a web app pen tester do? These were questions I would ask. And then if something more so would, like, say if somebody told me, hey, web app pen testing does X, Y, Z, and it piques my interest, that's when I would start digging more deeper into it. And okay, how do I get started? Okay, I would Google that first. How do I get started? I want to become a web app pen tester. And there's tons of articles out there now, right? That says, hey, here's how you get started. And then they give you a list of books, recommendations, Now there's plenty of like the hack the boxes, and you got the try hack me, which is awesome. It gives you a blueprint of how to get started with, in my case, if I'm starting now, web application testing, right? It's no longer just, hey, here's the web application hacker's handbook, go learn. There are so many different paths now where that's where I would start. I would start with first looking up what is cybersecurity. Second, start asking around by joining Discord channels and even Twitter spaces. Look up some Twitter spaces like, oh, this looks interesting. How to get into cybersecurity. There was a Twitter space. We just did a Twitter space on that a couple of weeks ago, right? And then that's when I would start asking some more questions and taking notes. And then from there, just kind of build upon what I've from the notes that I've taken, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So as far as getting started out, how important do you feel that certifications are as far as someone trying to get their foot in the door?
I think certifications are important. It gives you a foundation. And it shows your potential employer that you took the time out to actually help yourself get your foot in the door. You said, you know what? This is something that I want to do. I wanted to take a certification to show that this is my interest. This is what I'm interested in. And this is how I have the foundation to get started. Just because, and always remember, just because you have the certification, that doesn't mean you know everything there is to know about the subject. Certifications are great for foundation. It lays the foundation for you to continue to learn more in that particular field. So I think certifications are important. And another thing that's important is just networking. Just constantly talking with folks within your area of interest as well, too. Like say you have the foundation already, you have the certification already, you already have the foundation. Now you got to work. Get your foot in the door, start networking with folks. Hey, here's what I've done so far. Because I've always learned this, and this is any aspect of life. If you are trying to help yourself, someone will help you. There's someone that will help you if you're trying to help. If they see you're trying to help yourself and you're trying to do something, they will help you. So that's what I think about certifications. Certifications are important, but it's not the end all be all.
Yeah, that's some good advice, and especially the part where people see you trying to learn. Mm-hmm. That's helpful because not everyone are as generous with their time as people like yourself. Some people aren't going to be able to spend much time mentoring or put the effort into it. But then Once people see you're trying to help yourself, it's like when you get those messages on LinkedIn, someone wants mentoring, or Twitter, where they just say hi and that's it, and mm-hmm. and you really have to drag things out of them. So really, like you said, showing that you're trying to help yourself,
right,
motivates someone is going to help you or mentor you more, knowing that you're actually putting the effort in and know that you're going to put the effort in and not mm-hmm. just waste their time. So that's
right. That's important.
That's great advice. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Some people just, they see that you're not going to, and that's one of the interesting things that I enjoy mentoring and stuff better. I compete in powerlifting and have for mm-hmm. years and years. And I'd rather help someone with their career or help someone become a pen tester than powerlifting, because what I ran into before is mm-hmm. you'd write up this routine, give someone this routine,
yeah,
and they may not do it, or they'll work on it, and then they switch to something else. Yeah. So you spend all this time. And so you really, sometimes you want to be, your time is valuable. And so where you invest it is too. So
that's true. That is so true. But it's a good thing and I always love helping someone because somebody helped me. Mm-hmm. I'm just paying it forward.
Yes.
Somebody helped me. I'm definitely going to do all I can to help someone that's trying to do it.
And it's a good feeling, man. You always hear it's better to give than to receive. And then once mm-hmm. you get into helping others, you really get to see that feeling. And I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at it that way. The only, I'm not a person that's in competition. Like I don't believe in all that competition. Competition, your only competition is yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to motivate. There's no one else stopping you from becoming what you want to become. It's just something like, hey, I got to get up each morning and actually go for what I want to go for. There's no one else stopping you but yourself. That's your competition. Everything else, no. No.
Yeah, that is true. People just need to really go after it and stay motivated, because a lot of times people are their biggest distraction or biggest blockers. Because
Yeah.
you think about kids, and since you have a young daughter, you see when kids are little, they think they
can do
think
it
they could be
all.
astronauts, they could be
Yes.
doctors, they could be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they got that mindset. But as we go through time, we have negative experiences that
Yeah.
discourage us, and you just have to make sure that you're not discouraging or preventing yourself from getting ahead.
Yeah. Or you can keep the Peter Pan mentality. Peter Pan never grew mentally.
Yeah.
The adults, the adults around him was just like, oh, well, you're an adult now. This is real life. Like, what are you doing? It's just like, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's the first thing a person says.
Yeah.
When you say you're going to do something, there will be one person that will say, they'll give you 50 million reasons why you shouldn't do it. That's the person you want to not listen to. Because the 50 million reasons why you shouldn't do it is the one reason why you should do it.
Yes, definitely. Human nature. You just don't know. Some people are haters and they just want to prevent you from doing something.
Yeah.
Or some people think that they couldn't do it, or they just they see all the negatives, and so
Right.
you just have to be positive and move on, and listen to the people that are going to encourage you instead of the people that are going to discourage you.
The naysayers today will be your biggest cheerleaders tomorrow, if you think about it. Because if when they see you progressing, the next thing you know, they want to come aboard. So it's all mentality. If somebody tells you can't do something for 50 years, eventually it becomes true in your mind, not true in reality. But that's an obstacle that we all have to fight to overcome. That piece right there. So if anybody's listening, if you feel like you can't do something, I'm personally telling you, yes, you can. Get up, don't give up.
Great advice.
Get up, don't give up.
Great advice. We spoke about certifications. One of the other things that we get asked a lot in the industry, that people are trying to get started out. So what are your views on, does someone need to know how to script or code to be a pen tester?
No, you don't. You don't have to know how to code, but it does help, right? And especially as you go further in learning about penetration testing, and the more pen tested you do, you're going to want to try to automate some things. You're like, oh, I'm tired of doing the same thing the same way manually day in and day out. Hey, let me figure out a way to automate it. And you can do that through scripting. Now, do you have to know how to do it? No. But eventually you're probably going to want to code. It does help, especially if you know how to read code. You might not be able to write code, but at least be able to read it, because you never know. You might run into a situation where it's a mature environment, and you might have to write a tool that kind of gets you over to the next hump, because everything is patched. There's no exploits available. There's nothing. And you're on a time limit, so you got to find something. You got to have something in hand. You might have to take a piece of code to modify it, but if you can't read it, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So that's why I say it's good to actually know, because this is something that can help you further along in your career as a pen tester or a red teamer.
So what language would you recommend starting with?
I'd say Python. Python is fun. Python is a fun and simple language to start out with, and it's very powerful. So you got all the great combinations right there. Definitely want to start out with Python. And if you don't feel comfortable with Python, you can even start with shell scripting. There's nothing wrong with starting out with basic, like if you're into like Linux, and a lot of folks I'm pretty sure are using Kali Linux these days, you can start out with just basic bash shell scripting to automate your stuff, and then work your way up if you want to do like Python or whatnot for more advanced stuff. But you can just start out with basic shell scripting and have fun with that. The key is just enjoying what you're doing, and not just say, because if you look at it as a chore, it's going to get more difficult. That's the key too. If you look at it like, oh my God, I have to do this. No, you don't. But if you want to start out, I would definitely start out with it, either shell scripting or Python. I'd recommend Python, but if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can always just start with shell scripting and then come back to it. That's the beautiful part.
So yeah, what other is, we're getting down towards the end of the show. Is there any other advice that you'd like to share that maybe we didn't touch on during our conversation?
I just want people, like, I know we're just getting into 2022, and I challenge you to find something new. If it don't challenge you, it don't change you. Greatness awaits you, and I love you all. I just want y'all to just get out there, just go after your goals and dreams, whatever it is that you want to do, whether you're red teaming, pen testing, powerlifting, whatever it is that you choose, honestly, just go out there, just go after it. Don't let the naysayers, don't give the naysayers any position in your mindset, because again, at the end of the day, you're the one that's got to be happy with you. So that's just my advice, going out.
Awesome advice. Thanks for joining, and it was great to get to speak to you. We've only messaged through Twitter before, but to actually get to virtually speak with you, that's great. I'm a big fan, and hopefully in 2022 we get to actually talk in person. Hopefully, so that would be great.
Well, don't have to stop here. Just definitely keep in touch.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just 140 characters away. That way. I'm just a phone number away. I'm just 140 characters away, people.
Well, thanks again. It was awesome. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your story.
No problem.
Thanks everyone for
once again.
Yeah, we have to do, definitely. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you on the next episode.
BugCrowd's award-winning platform combines actionable contextual intelligence with the skill and experience of the world's most elite hackers to help leading organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities, protect customers, and make the digitally connected world a safer place. Learn more at bugcrowd.com.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Hacker Factory podcast with Phillip Wylie. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.